My name's Robin Swanick, and I'm the Associate State Director for Community Outreach with AARP Nebraska. So for the month of July, we've been bringing you a local expert who is sharing with us some of the diet trends that are most popular today. We've been hosting a 5-part series on diets from our Facebook page on AARP Nebraska. So in July, you can catch us live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central Time, or you can tune in anytime to watch our recorded segments from our Facebook page. Now this week, we're going to talk about the plant-based food diet. Now the information we provide you on these diet trends are for the purpose of educating you on what some diets entail. When you're starting any diet, it is best to do your own research and to talk to your doctor before starting a new diet regimen. So if you're watching this segment live, please post a comment or question and our speaker will answer them during the presentation or afterwards in the comment section. If you've enjoyed today's session, please like this post or share it on your page to let others know what you have learned. So let's go ahead and meet our local expert. Jenny Donovan is a UNL graduate and registered dietitian for 20 years, where she now serves as a registered dietitian for the Hy-Vee grocery store. Jenny, thank you for joining us for the month of July to share your wisdom and knowledge about current popular diet trends. We're going to let you take it away explaining what the plant-based diet is, and then afterwards we'd like to ask you some questions.
Yeah, sounds great. And again, thank you to AARP for hosting me every Wednesday in July with you, just to have a fun discussion about current diets that are out there. So today, like Robin said, we're going to be talking about the plant-based food diet. And if you guys have been on this diet, if you want to share like your success with this diet, you can pop it in the comment. If you have a question about this diet, go ahead and pop it in the comments below, or you know what, you could just send me some hearts so that I know that you're out there too. So send me some love. So yeah, we're going to talk about the plant-based diet. And I always like to dig a little bit into the history of the diet. So this diet has been around for centuries, right? And this diet, as compared to the last two diets that we've been talking about, we talked about keto first, and then we talked about intermittent fasting. But with this diet, there's a lot of research behind it. Because there is, people have been vegetarians and vegans for quite a while. And that's not exactly what this diet is, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But the research is there, which is promising. And I don't know if you guys remember, but way back in 2008, there was a really popular book that came out called The Blue Zones. And this was a journalist from National Geographic, I think, and he went to a bunch of different countries around the world where they were hot spots for people who were living to be at least 100 years old. There was a high number of people living to be to 100, and he wanted to understand why. Well, one of the common denominators that he found out across all these countries and cultures was that they had more of a plant-based diet. They would allow some meat in occasionally, but primarily it was plant-based. All right, and the research supports that. And then most recently, there's been some documentaries that have been out there. One is called Game Changers, and one was called Fork Over Knives. So I think I've had more questions in my practice about the plant-based diets than keto or intermittent fasting, just if you could put it into perspective. And I'll show you, okay? I walked by the check stands today on my way to my office, and look at plant-based diet. Another magazine. Another. That's Consumer Reports. This is Forks Over Knives. Now they have their own magazine. All right. So that's, let's see, let me count it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 5 magazines that I just pulled off the check stand. And I only found one magazine cover that was talking about keto, and one was that talking about intermittent fasting. So if that offers kind of any perspective of what consumers are thinking about right now. So what are the health benefits of the plant-based diet? Well, research shows us that you can have an improved lipid panel. So your cholesterol numbers will improve, your blood pressure will go down, You will lose some weight, possibly. Your gut health will improve. So that's a huge issue with the aging population because you'll start to have more gut health problems, but plant-based diets keep your gut healthy. And maybe somebody has a question about that. So if you have a question about how does plant-based diets help my gut, pop it in the comments below. But what great research shows, especially that's applicable to the AARP community, is that the plant-based diets improve longevity, all right? And that supports going all the way back to that blue zone theory, right? So if you guys don't know, there is a blue zone in the United States. Does anyone know where that is? If you know, pop it in the comment, all right? So I know that you're out there listening. And then I can circle back to tell you where that is. But so what is the plant-based diet? So primarily your diet, about 75 to 90% of the foods you eat, most of your calories are coming from plant-based foods, all right? So you may occasionally allow some meat in, you may do cheese, you may do dairy, you may do eggs, but primarily you're focusing on plants, okay? And it kind of has a new terminology. So we're not vegans, we're not vegetarians. They're called something flexitarians, okay? So you have this totally flexible diet. Mostly you're eating plant-based, but yeah, you know, if you go out to a restaurant or if you're ordering curbside or pickup, you may have a burger in that or a steak, right? Let me see if I have any comments. Let me see if somebody answered about that blue zone. So the blue zone in the United States is Loma Linda, California. Does anyone know why? Why are they a blue zone? So they have quite a few people that live to be over 100 in Loma Linda because they have a plant-based diet that's associated with religious values. Okay, they're Seventh-day Adventists out there, and they mostly follow a plant-based diet. All right, let me see. So are there health concerns with this diet? Yes, there are. All the research, the positive research that is associated with this diet is whole food plant-based. So not a lot of the processed plant-based foods. And again, when I am working with somebody that is going from, from a traditional Western diet to more of a plant-based diet, and they're not having the successful health outcomes that they were hoping for, a lot of times if we just do a quick audit of their diet, they're still allowing a lot of the plant-based processed foods in, okay? Like potato chips. That would be a processed plant-based food, right? So, we're subbing out the potato chips for that baked potato, all right? There are some nutritional deficiencies that could be associated with this diet. So I tell my, when I'm educating the regular consumer, so animal proteins have ZIP, all right? Zinc, iron, protein, all right? Not to say that you can't get those foods from plant-based foods, but you might just have to eat a little bit more of them. So iron deficiency may be a problem, zinc, and B12. B12 is in animal sources, okay? It's not in plant sources. And interesting with B12 vitamin, as you age, you don't absorb it as well as you were when you were younger, okay? So again, that may be a red flag for this AARP community. Also, if you are on certain medications like heartburn medications or metformin, which again, I would suspect quite a few of you AARP people are, or at least know about them, those can influence the absorption of that B12 vitamins, okay, if you're on those medications. And then enough protein, all right, because it takes a lot of plant-based foods to come up with your daily needs of protein. However, I think we kind of overthink how much protein we actually need in a day. So I want to go through a quick calculation with you guys to figure out your daily protein needs. All right, so if you guys want to get out your calculators on your smartphone or whip it out of your desk if you're close by a desk with a calculator. Let me get to my calculator here. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to enter in your weight. All right, so I'm just going to use a sample weight of 150. We have to divide, so that's your pounds, weight in pounds. You're gonna put that in the calculator. So I put 150, and we need to divide that by 2.2 because that's gonna convert our pounds into kilograms, okay? All right, so I get 68. And usually when we're thinking about protein needs for the day, the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, says that you get a range from 0.8 to 1 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So obviously we would divide this, or you could times this number by 1. That's easy. It's 68 for a 158-pound person needs an upper limit of 68 grams of protein. All right. Sometimes we think we need over 100 grams of protein a day, but you don't. All right. So again, that calculation is your body weight divided by 2.2. And then for that range, you would times that number by 0.8 to get the lower end and by 1 to get the upper end. Now, one thing you may want to consider, older adults may need a little bit more protein because as you age, you lose lean body mass. All right. So I would kind of stick around with that 1. If you need to go a little higher, I would have that conversation with your healthcare professional. There may be some red flags, especially if you are on, if you have some kidney disease, things like that. Oh, let me see. Oh, somebody wants to know if they're on this plant-based diet, how do they get enough calcium if you don't drink milk? Yeah, and that's a valid point. So as for AARP members, for your age of population, you want to get about at least 3 servings of calcium-rich foods a day. So, you know, you can look at the food labels to help you know how much calcium is in something. Soy milk would be great. That's the equivalent, a cup of that for a cup of dairy milk is 1 for 1, okay? That would offer a good amount of calcium. The green leafies, beans, tofu, all other good sources of calcium. You know, at your next doctor's appointment, you could have them draw labs and just see where your calcium level is at so you know if you need a supplement, but that would be a conversation I'd have with your healthcare professional. All right, let's go on. So we kind of talked about protein needs. And you know what? I just yesterday, I got a new research study across my desk that said about plant-based diet. So I thought that was really timely. And in that article, their research showed that if you replace animal protein with about 10 to 20 grams of plant-based proteins, you can have those positive effects of longevity. Okay, so what would that look like? Let's like break that down, okay, into common sense, everyday practicalityness. So let's say you're going to have a salad at lunch, and instead of that grilled chicken breast that you're going to put on your salad, you're going to top that salad with a chicken breast. But instead of using the whole chicken breast, you only use like a third of it. And then you're going to top it with maybe like some black beans as the protein source, maybe some pepitas, those little pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds for more protein, or chia seeds. You can sprinkle your salad with chia seeds, again, just to replace that animal protein with the plant-based protein. I hope that makes sense. You guys can ask me questions if you have a question about that. Let's see. Let me see if I don't have any questions. Robin, did you guys get any questions on your end that you could moderate for me?
Yes. Okay, so here's some that have been building up in my mind and that we've heard prior to today's event with some questions that came through. The first one is that there are so many meat-like substitutes that are really hot topics right now. So that would be an example of like Beyond Burgers or Impossible Burgers. Are those actually nutritious substitutes, or is it just like a placebo of sorts?
No, those are made with quality plant-based proteins. Sometimes they're using pea protein or soy protein, or sometimes it's a mixture. So those are totally a good source of protein. I just wouldn't do them for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, you know, but occasionally you can work them in there. And remember when I said this new concept is called flexitarians? Well, they're a good option for flexitarians because they taste like meat. I think true vegans and vegetarians aren't looking for that meat taste, but flexitarians still want that mouthfeel and mouth taste, if that makes sense.
Yes. So then we talked about with the plant-based diet, you're looking at fruits and vegetables and nuts and beans. But my question is, can you eat bread on a diet such as this?
Yeah, whole grains, totally. Yeah, and again, if the emphasis is on not processed. So, when you look at a package, the ingredient listing, the less ingredients in that bread, the better. So one bread that comes to my mind is Ezekiel bread. It's often found in the frozen department. It maybe has 5 or 7 ingredients in it. And if it does have a little bit of milk or eggs or honey, again, that's part of that flexitarian diet. But because it's less processed, it's more ideal. All right. Because some breads down the typical bread aisle might have like 15 or 20 ingredients added.
So when we talk about soy, I noticed that with the plant-based diets, the emphasis sometimes can be on soy. And I didn't know, is soy a reason for concern when it comes to cancer?
Yeah, and you know what? Somebody just asked us that on the live chat too. So they said soy seems to be a good source of protein, but I've heard it may cause cancer. So, I guess the word that's associated with that is it's phytoestrogens in the plant that kind of can turn on cancer. And just like eggs, some days eggs are bad, some days eggs are good. So I would say soy kind of lands in that. The research is still out. But it kind of boils down to an agreement from everyone that just don't eat a lot of processed soy during the day. All right. So maybe keeping it 3 servings less of, like, you wouldn't want to, like, your max is doing like a soy sausage at breakfast, a soy burger at lunch, and then maybe soy chicken at dinner. All right. So that would be the maximum allowed of that processed soy.
Okay. Earlier you had referenced that there are some documentaries out there now, and of course the information at the grocery aisle sounds terrific with all the magazines and articles being put out. But what did you indicate were the 2 series that you have heard about that specifically address this plant-based diet, and where would I find those?
So the customers are coming to me because they've watched these documentaries, Fork Over Knives and then Game Changers. And they're at one time they were both on Netflix, but you know how Netflix changes. So I don't know if they're still there, but I'm sure you can find YouTube videos of it or another platform to watch those documentaries.
Good. So what would you say are the best sources of the healthy fats when you are eating a plant-based diet? What should I focus on or trying to fill my grocery cart up with?
Yeah, so what I love about this diet is that it's so colorful, right? So, shop the produce department, shop the frozen fruit and vegetable department, tofu, soy milk, the healthy oils, avocado oil, olive oil, nuts and seeds. So all of those, I pulled some, like, these are split peas, and I make a really yummy split pea soup with my pressure cooker. It's 5 ingredients. It's split peas. It's that carrot, celery, onion mixture, maybe a little garlic, a bay leaf, and then some veggie stock. All right. It takes like 15 minutes in my pressure cooker. It's fabulous. It looks a little bit funky, so but it tastes amazing. And then you could pair that with a salad and then like a whole grain bread, like a piece of Ezekiel bread toast. That would be an amazing meal. For lunch, you could do a quinoa bowl, quinoa topped with some black beans and then a bunch of veggies, maybe a little bit of salsa on top. And if you're doing that flexitarian, you can add a little bit of cheese. So breakfast, you may do oatmeal mixed in with some peanut butter for that extra protein. Some soy milk to get the calcium. But
wow, Jenny, those are great options. They actually sound good to me too. So I appreciate hearing that. Any other closing statements on the plant-based diet before we end it today?
Yes, yes. Thank you for asking, because I found a really great quote from that Dan Buettner, who's the author and the journalist from the Blue Zones. Let me just pull it up, okay? All right, so because I think it just puts it in perspective so wonderful, a summary of this diet. So he says that the calculus of aging offers us two options. We can live a shorter life with more years of disability, or we can live the longest possible life with the fewest bad years. As my centenarian friends showed me, the choice is largely up to us. How's that?
Yes, I totally agree.
Good plan, huh?
Yes. Well, Jen, we truly appreciate you for being with us today. We're going to see you next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, which will be July 22nd, and you're going to talk to us about the Mediterranean diet, right?
Yep. Right, that's right.
Well, thank you so much for today's information, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, bye guys. Have a great week.